village needs a well. Got some meadows over here. Oh God, I almost forgot the church.
Hey, dude, what's up? Still world building?
I am, yeah. Why?
Well, I think I got it figured out.
Figured out? What in the hell are you talking about?
Ta-da!
Huh? Oh, okay. I see you traded out Legos for Mega Blocks.
A super underrated interlocking brick system.
Okay, but that's still not world built. Wait a second, are those connects? Where did you find those?
Don't ask.
Hi, I'm Tyson.
And I'm Mike. And we argue with dragons.
Welcome back, listeners. This is Tyson.
And this is Mike.
We are Arguing with Dragons, a podcast where two middle-aged nerds discuss the finer point of being middle-aged nerds.
Yes, indeed. The finer and the grittier ones.
Ooh, grittier. I'm not sure I like that word.
I mean, condoms, probably not.
It's all in the context, right?
Exactly.
Not 30 seconds into our episode, and there's people already turning it off, being like, yes, that's a little too lowbrow for me.
Well, that actually brings me to a point that I was trying to make. This new comedy with Mark Wahlberg in it looks hilarious.
Oh, yeah? What's it called?
It's called Balls Out. It's about a condom manufacturer who gets kidnapped by the mob, evidently, or some sort of Central American cartel.
I think it would have been better if it had something to do with dodgeball. We need a professional dodgeball follow-up movie.
I mean, Dodgeball, a true underdog story, could do with a sequel, but only if handled properly.
Yes, and you could have called it Balls Out. See, it was a missed opportunity.
Well, Balls of Fury was already taken, and mind you, awesome movie. Hysterical, probably the funniest George Lopez has ever been.
So you know what's not funny, but cool?
What's that?
Marvel is reportedly eyeing Deadpool 4 as a post-Avengers Secret War movie.
Well, I never got into the Secret War storyline. However, I'm always on the lookout for new Deadpool.
Secret Wars, I'm hoping that this is not just the war of shapeshifters and all that on the world, but there was one where, I don't know if you ever watched the old 90s Spider-Man cartoon.
But a little bit. And I remember Iceman and Firestar.
So at the very end of that series, Madam Web appears, and she's been appearing randomly through the series, and she takes Spider-Man to another world and tells him, you are in charge of saving this world, and you can pull anybody you want out of your world to help you.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, your opponents will be all of your greatest villains. So it was Dr. Doom, Dr. Octopus, Rhino Shot, all of them together working together.
Huh.
And Dr. Doom had crowned himself king of this world. Now, this was all very condensed and dumbed down for, small children in the 90s.
Of course, because the 90s were pretty dumb.
But, oh, hell no. One of the best times to be alive, man. Dial-up internet. Online games just coming around. Freaking StarCraft, Warcraft. The 90s rocked, dude.
2 words. Jinko jeans. Jinko jeans were basically a dress with a seam sewn in the middle.
The weird shit we fucking put on as kids. I mean, what the hell were we thinking? Come on.
Laughing at you. I'm laughing with you. I had 3 pairs.
I think I had any pairs of Jinkos. I couldn't afford them. They were expensive.
I also had a pair of trip pants from Hot Topic.
My solution was to go to Walmart and just buy jeans that were 6 sizes too big.
And then hem the waistline a little bit.
Hell no, just like a ratchet strap around that shit. Just ratchet it up,
There you go.
So what else is going on in the news today, Mike?
Well, there's an awful lot, actually. Evidently, there is a new animated series based on Stranger Things.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's called Stranger Things Tales from '85. I'm not entirely sure what it's going to be on. I didn't watch the actual trailer. I gave up on Stranger Things the second they killed a cat.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so no, I
really wouldn't want anything to do with them there either.
Yeah, and in other news, Dwayne Johnson looks like a stupid SNL parody of himself in the new Moana.
Oh,
Yeah, like his take on Maui from the cartoon in the live action just looks like a terribly wardrobed version of himself.
Well, Maui in the cartoon was kind of a overweight, terribly wardrobed version of The Rock.
Except, in the live action, he's still got the giant muscles and the actually intact physique, as opposed to being a fat guy.
Oh, see, I think that he should have gained some weight for that role. Come on.
Well, to be fair, how much weight could that man realistically gain? He's eaten more protein than I've had bowel movements.
Gross. So I found out today through the Nerdist that Jared and Misha from Supernatural are also going to be joining Jensen for the final season of The Boys.
Ooh, interesting.
Yeah. I mean, I'm here for it because Supernatural was kind of it's fiction, fantasy, but it was still pretty, CW.
It was very CW in that they were about as, how do I put this? They were as, to say the word again, gritty as they possibly could be for network television at the time.
What is wonderful to me, though, is watching Jensen come alive with the worst dick jokes as playing Soldier Boy.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Absolutely. Love it.
Granted, he was put on ice in the 60s.
True. Listeners, if you don't know what we're talking about, The Boys is a wonderful, wonderful TV series on Amazon Prime that is based on a comic book. I've never read the comic book, so I can't tell you if it was done well, but I can tell you that even if you've never read the comic book, this is a very, very good show. It is gritty, it is gross, it is hilarious at times, and tells the story of how the world would really be if superheroes existed.
And it's unbelievably dark.
It is very dark. Like, it is a world ran by social media, narcissists, and some of these narcissists can shoot lasers out their eyes.
And don't forget the capitalism.
Oh, there's a lot of capitalism too.
And basically the entire world owned by one corporation that happened to be what created superheroes.
Yeah. It's pretty wild series.
It most certainly is.
I tuned in a little late, so I got myself all caught up a few years ago, and I've been waiting patiently to see how it all ends. And now it's looking like we're going to have some of our supernatural brothers over there being superheroes. I can't wait to see what Misha does.
I guarantee you there's going to be a callback to Supernatural in there because you got Jensen. Well, you got Sam, you got Dean, you got Castiel, and you got Bobby.
Oh, you do. You do.
I don't forgot about Bobby, didn't you?
Well, I think he died in the last season, didn't he?
I'm not sure if he died or if he just kind of faded off screen and everybody was expected to forget about him.
No, he was the president.
Yeah.
And now he's not the president anymore. I'm pretty sure they killed him.
I'm not sure. No, he went to prison.
Oh, yeah, they arrested him.
That's right.
Along with like half of America for being Starlight supporters.
I mean, it has been a year and a half since the previous season came out. Shit, I'm forgetting all the details.
They're trying to put a sci-fi fantasy spin on things that are actually possible to happen in the real world. Just because you don't agree with the establishment, we have First Amendment rights here in America. So if you're listening somewhere out overseas, we have the First Amendment, which unfortunately is in jeopardy. So again, listeners, if you're listening from overseas, I am so sorry. What is happening in the world right now is not how the majority of Americans feel or want to treat you. So
especially us people here in Iowa.
Let me apologize on behalf of the entire country.
Same here. I'll apologize on behalf of Canada as well.
I did not vote for this insanity. I did not. And I never would. And if you did, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, listeners in America, if you voted for this, it's fine. I still love you, and I will be here with open arms when you finally stop drinking the Kool-Aid and realize your mistake. Anyway.
Yeah, exactly. Now, speaking of Jareds, you brought up Jared Padalecki. I'm going to bring up Jared Leto for a second.
Oh, God.
I know.
Which version of Jared Leto? The wonderful singer of The Kill, which is an amazing song, or the Jared Leto
8 out of 10.
Or the Jared Leto that butchered the Joker?
The latter.
Okay.
Yeah, this time he's going to be sticking his very falcon beak-shaped nose into the role of Skeletor on the He-Man movie.
Oh, that's who Skeletor is?
Yeah.
I didn't even know when I saw that preview.
Yeah, that's Jared Leto behind the skeleton. At least we don't have to look at his big dumb face.
Well, listeners, I don't know if you grew up with Masters of the Universe and He-Man and all that. I did, and I have no recollection of the story behind this TV show. I just remember him turning into a muscle-bound buffoon and it being really hokey.
Oh, it's extremely hokey in the same way that Thundercats is hokey, but Thundercats is infinitely cooler.
Yeah, well, I've never seen an episode of Thundercats.
You have your homework. Anyway, I'm not totally 100% on the story of He-Man myself. Never watched it growing up. Never got into the newer versions of it that were released somewhat recently on Cartoon Network. Rest in peace, Cartoon Network. But have you noticed that Jared Leto has a penchant for playing terrible villains or terrible versions of villains?
I would definitely say terrible versions because, like playing the Joker is like a rite of passage as an actor. The actors that have played him have been legends.
And I can't remember who played him in the movie, like the original He-Man movie.
Oh, I don't know, but he sounded like,
he had the very silly voice,
very hokey comic book villain voice.
Now, granted, I will say that kind of silly nasally voice didn't do it for me, but this monster voice that he's going to do in the new one, I think it will.
Oh my! Do you want to know who has voiced Skeletor in the past?
Oh, and Tyson,
the one and the only Mark Hamill.
Really?
Mark Hamill. When did he voice Skeletor?
I think that was probably the animated series. I'm talking the original Dolph Lundgren movie. Oh, in comes my wife with the win here. Frank Langella, or Langella.
Oh, great job. Great job, Heather. We appreciate you.
We appreciate you, baby.
All right. So,
and that was the first cameo of my beautiful wife.
We've got a lot to talk about tonight. As you may know, this is part 2 of our world building exercises.
Really?
I know. Last week, we did a full-on hour-long episode about world building, and it was wonderful. It was great, and we had a good time. And earlier this week, during the layover between when I edit these episodes and when we actually get them posted, we interviewed a good friend, Cam, that we're going to play that interview a little later here on the show. So we're going to get right to it, Mike. We got to roll initiative right off the bat.
Oh, shit.
All right, folks. Today, we're going to talk about some of the tools.
You're a tool.
Well, I don't want to talk about me. You told me I was tooting my own horn too much last episode.
Sir, this is an R-rated show, not an NC-17 one.
Well, I promise you, listeners, I will not toot my own horn. But what I will do is I will share with you some tools that I have used or I have heard of that will help you build worlds and help your worlds come to life. First and foremost, we got to talk about maps because
about maps.
Everybody loves a good map. And
what's that song from Dora the Explorer? I'm the map. I'm the map.
I'm the map. I'm the map. Yes. So, Mike, have you ever played at a tabletop game that didn't have a map?
Yeah, checkers.
How about a tabletop role-playing game? Have you ever played D&D where the DM did not have a map?
A couple of times, yeah. And I don't remember it being absolutely horrible. The theater of the imagination can be a powerful tool to use, speaking of tools, but at the same time, having a map is certainly good.
Yeah, I mean, a map orients you. It
Absolutely.
lets you know details about your environment, and it gives you a sense that you're in a greater world. And even if it's just a town map, it's important that you have something. And whether this map is a super detailed continents and mountain ranges and oceans and all that, or if it is just chicken scratches scribbled on a napkin you had at lunch, It doesn't matter. A map is a map.
Why is the term chicken scratch a thing?
You want to have a map. And if there's places out there online that will help you do this. Now, I've run across several generators online that can generate maps. TTRPG map generator. Let's just type that into Google, folks, and see what comes up. RPG map generator. The very first link on Google, fantasy map generator, Asgar's fantasy map generator version 1.114.2. This tool,
Had to put every number in there, didn't you?
this tool is freaking cool. It has a small application that you can install, and I assure you, listeners, it's safe. But this will randomly generate landmass and kingdoms for you. It'll generate rivers, it'll generate some mountains, it'll do some cool stuff, and it will scale the map for you. Now, this is neat if you just need something on the fly, or you're not feeling like really being all that creative with your world. You know, sometimes people need something put in front of them to get creative. Like just looking at this map that it's generated for me right now, Grand Duchy of I can't pronounce that. I like my names to be a little bit more pronounceable. Etho Despote. I mean, it comes up with some neat stuff, and there seems to be this cool lake in the middle of the land to the right with a huge river connecting it to a sea. So it's got some cool potential here. So if you're feeling like I'm just not creative enough to create my own map, by all means, use a tool like this. It works. Now, on the flip side of this, if you want to stretch that creative muscle and become an digital artist, I would highly recommend using Incarnate. It is a top of the line, fully functional map maker, and it can do a variety of styles from watercolors to realistic to, different brush stroke styles. And it's all functions with a layer system, just kind of like Photoshop, where you layer things upon each other and you can make some pretty cool towns. I've made numerous cities in Incarnate, and I mean, they look like a toddler made them because I'm terrible at art, but it's fully functional and you can do just about anything. And it doesn't have a very steep learning curve. You can go out to YouTube and watch several tutorial videos that will teach you how to shade your continent, draw your coastlines, where to put the rivers versus the mountains, because all of that stuff, if you want your world to be believable, can be important.
Well, I mean, importance is kind of, just that, important, you know?
Yeah, but it's not necessarily required. It's your fantasy world. Your river can run whatever direction you want it to. If you want it to make sense based on real world geography, it's going to run in a certain direction versus your mountains, and your mountains are going to run in a certain way, and yada, yada, yada.
Absolutely.
But these are all things that I don't want your ears to glaze over with, listeners, because, it's stuff that you'll learn as you go.
Yeah, absolutely it will. One thing I did want to actually mention to you in terms of world building, implementation of other languages in your world building.
Oh, yes. Languages are very important because if you look at around the world, like how many languages do you think there are on the planet Earth?
There is right around 4,000 known recorded and active living languages now.
That is 7,170 languages in use today. And that is just on our tiny little globe. Tiny little pea brains as humans came up with 7,170. And we only live like 100 years. Can you imagine being on a fantasy world where the elves can push 3,000 years?
Yeah, that'd be pretty crazy. I mean, you'd imagine that after 3,000 years alive, they would have, actual technology instead of still using bows.
Well, that comes down to the limits you want your world to have.
That's very true.
Maybe your world was reset several times, and that's why. Maybe they lack certain minerals to be able to make circuit boards so that they'd never be able to advance past steam engines.
Very true.
Maybe iron doesn't work the same way. I mean, there's lots of things you could do in your world to limit technology, which we can talk about that a little bit.
Yeah. Now, when I brought up languages, that wasn't what I meant, but that's actually a pretty good point to make. Now, what I was talking about was using real world languages as either in jokes or, in my case, in my game for D&D that we play every other Sunday,
Oh, yeah.
I included 2 linguistic hidden meanings that none of you caught, and I wouldn't have expected any of you to catch it. Would you like to know what they are?
I would.
All right, first of all, the orcish manservant to the count. His name is Obed.
Okay.
That is an Arabic word that means worshiper.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, and he is the manservant to a vampire whose name is Holod Crovey. Take a wild stab in the dark as to what you think that means.
Oh, I would say undying one.
No, it is Ukrainian for bloodthirst.
Ooh. Well, that makes sense because he's a vampire, right?
Exactly.
Well, I've done something like this also. One of the Tolkien's words created was galad, and it signified a thick, dense, branching tree. And in my world of Alduin, there are 2 trees of life, like massive skyscraper, larger than skyscraper sized trees. One of them is dead, but one of them contains a city state known as Teo Galad, which Galad, of course, is Tolkien for large branching thick tree. I've done that before too, where I've been like, okay, well, what's another language word for this? And then I look at those words and sometimes they're ugly and I don't want to use them, but sometimes they actually flow really nice as a name. So that's a good point. Yeah, it adds a sense of realism to your world, even if it's coming from the real world. It can make names sound far more believable. So
Absolutely.
good contribution there,
Absolutely.
Mike.
But I mean, hey, just giving your characters names like Steve, I mean, while cute, it's not really conducive to a serious game to have a character named Steve.
Now, I used to think that same way. And I'll tell you what changed it for me. I've been listening to an audiobook. Let's be real, listeners. I don't read much. I listen because I'm an auditory learner. But anyway, this book is called He Who Fights with Monsters. And it's a series, several books long. And I think I'm on book 4, 3 or 4, one of those books.
Right.
But I noticed that lots of the characters in the fantasy world that Mr. Jason Asano was running around in have normal names. And I'm like, and Jason calls it out numerous times because he's appeared in this fantasy world from the real world. And he's like, wait a minute, your name is this? And what he ends up with this familiar that is this world-ending apocalypse monster made of leeches that will devour all life on a planet. And this becomes his familiar. And
Sounds a little overpowered.
Jason names it Colin. Oh, this is my buddy Colin. And that just fucking kills me. And it's
Well, a nameless eldritch horror would have a normally unpronounceable name with about 9 apostrophes and no vowels in it. So Colin seems like a pretty good idea.
well, his other apocalypse monster that he carries around is named Gordon. So
There you go.
I just love it. And basic names can go a long way. Even I mean, you guys playing D&D last night just encountered 2 guards. Do you remember what their names were?
One was Greg, wasn't it?
Oh no, it was Alex and what was it? Alex and Trevor, I think, or something like that. They were simple, basic names.
How do you not remember every single minute detail of your own game?
Oh, I tell you, it's very hard, but that's going to segue perfectly into this next thing. So much like Mike's underwear drawer, organization is very important in your world.
I don't organize my underwear drawer. I just pick something clean out of a basket.
Well, thank God it's clean.
Oh, yeah,
But
every time.
there are numerous tools out there, ladies and gentlemen, that can help you organize your fantasy world. Now, if you're poor, there are harder ways to do it, which I would love to be able to go into great detail how to do this, but I'm just going to give you the gist of it. There's a program out there created called Obsidian, and Obsidian is a database note storing tool. It was created as an open source program for you to be able to use the database to sort items. And Obsidian has numerous plugins created by the community. And if you use the right plugins and do the right things with it, you can create an entire wiki that has maps built into it. There you can click on a map and scroll into a wiki page about your world. And you can start with a world map and go all the way down to a city or to a continent, to a city, to a house, and just keep drilling down until you're all the way there. And you can store all your NPCs, you give them, and even the plugins will even make this look like the player's handbook, like with the scroll looking page and the text and the fonts, everything. It's all been done.
Not gonna lie, that's pretty awesome.
And yeah, and most of it's free. So the plugins out there, they're all available. You can go out and YouTube it, search it up. It'll give you, there's lots of tutorials. It can get a little bit dicey if you don't know much about computers, about how to get it all loaded and working properly, but it's possible.
There you go.
Now, if you're willing to spend a little bit of money, however, there are other tools out there that do similar and store it out on the web so that your friends can, log in and contribute or log in and read. One that I use, I actually found it on a Facebook ad and I love it. It's called Legend Keeper. And we're obviously not sponsored by Legend Keeper. However, they do have a very active subreddit with the developer who will answer your questions real quick when you ask on the subreddit. Really cool. But Legend Keeper basically allows you to create a wiki starting in a landing page and drilling all the way down. It has a map program built into it for you to load your maps into it. And then, put a tab down or a pin on the map and then drill into that pin and then bring up either another map or a wiki page about what's on that pin. And you can set distances on that map also so that you can actually, in Legend Keeper, you can GPS from one location to another and it will tell you the walking path and it will tell you all the points of interest along the way and exactly how long it will take your characters to walk there.
That is pretty cool.
It is freaking sick. I love Legend Keeper. Is it perfect? No. When I look at it on my laptop, the screens will look one way and the pages will look perfect. I go downstairs to my big 32-inch monitor and it looks like shit because everything's spaced wonky. Known issue. I'm sure they're working on it, but Legend Keeper is cool. World Anvil does very similar. It has a little bit steeper of a learning curve, but World Anvil is an excellent tool also for organizing your world and putting things together so that you can keep it all straight, whether you're writing a book, creating a tabletop game, just building a world in general.
Yeah, that sounds pretty great, dude. I may actually look into doing that myself if I ever decide to branch out and start a D&D campaign that's not taking place in the world that you created so lovingly.
I would love, Mike, I would love to help you make a world. That would be awesome.
To be perfectly honest with you, Tyson, I think I'd rather build one by myself and see if I can impress you.
I'm game.
You're a tall order.
Well, only 6'1", So generators are out there. Those are a very good tool to use. Now, most of the time I think of name generators when I think of a generator, but you can have it generate cultures. There are encounter generators out there, all kinds of randomized generators.
Let me ask you something.
Yeah.
What really differentiates these generators from something like, say, ChatGPT?
Well, funny that you say that because AI is the next on the list. Now, the generators, they randomly pick from a large database of options, or they'll cobble words together for you and give it to you. And the generators really are meant to inspire you or to come up with something quick on the fly.
Hmm.
And the funny thing is that I think that's what AI is for. AI is like an idea accelerator, and it's not supposed to be a replacement to thinking and creating. And funny you say that. So I want to read this off for ladies and gentlemen out there. There's a subreddit called R World Building. And this subreddit is really cool if you're a world builder. Not in the fact that you want to actually post and ask them questions, because it seems like I never get answers when I do. But maybe that's just me. But to read what other people post and some of the answers they get, a lot of times they post, in my world, magic works like this. How does this work in your world? And then 1,700 people will comment about how things work in their worlds.
Oh,
So
absolutely.
it's really neat. But somebody posted there about 6 hours ago, a gentleman by the name of Frenchiest Fry 0101. What a name. He says, everyone knows you're using AI. Recently, I'm sure we've all noticed a lot of posts asking for feedback on lore with the same chat GPT format and phrasing. Now, my tolerance for AI is probably higher than most here. I can understand, though not necessarily condone, structure, translation, proofreading, or minor uses for AI. But y'all, please, in all caps, spare us from the copy pasted paragraphs with the obvious AI writing style, the titles and dashes, which are okay to use, but it's obvious when it's ChatGPT. It won't do you any favors. Using AI for content takes away from the spirit of world building. It takes away from the simulation of figuring things out, of letting your imagination run free. The idea should always be yours, and you're using AI to write your ideas or structure your lore files, then keep it for yourself and just explain it with your own words here. Keep it human! Exclamation point. And I say that with the Frenchiest of Fry accent because I don't know, this guy sounds just a little bit,
Elitist as hell.
yeah, you know?
Let people have fun.
Yes, let people have fun. And just because you don't want to read other people's fun, or just because you think the way they phrased it sounds too much like AI, doesn't always mean it's AI. I've encountered numerous articles online written by people that sounds a lot like ChatGPT. You know why? Because ChatGPT learned to type from people.
Mhm. So said the president or the vice president to the current president. It is possible just to not talk about something.
Yeah, here's the deal, folks. AI is a very powerful tool, but it is just that. It is a tool. How you use it matters. Now,
Absolutely.
if you want an AI to write you an entire history of your world, cool. But you got to ask yourself, why are you world building if you want AI to do it all for you?
Exactly.
Write something out yourself and then give it to ChatGPT and ask it what it thinks about it. And then see where that takes you. Use it to sharpen your ideas. Use it to sharpen up your world. What I like to use it for is I'll come up with these really cool ideas, but these ideas aren't really linked together in any way. And I'll give it my ideas and I'll say, how can I link these together better? And it will find the threads between them that link them together way faster than I could. And
Absolutely.
I'm unashamed. I'm proud to say that, hey, yeah, I had to have a little AI help. But you know, when I've got 2 weeks to prep a D&D game and y'all have walked into a major capital city of a world that I have only loosely fleshed out in my brain, I am going to need help. And rather than put off a game for 2 months while I use the tiny amount of free time I have to, populate vendor tables and come up with a list of 6 names for different vendors. These are things that I'm going to use AI to help me with. Tell me what 5 vendors are going to be in this area and give me some race ideas for them. And sometimes it's cool. Sometimes they give me good ideas. Sometimes he gives me trash. And I'm like, I'm going to change that because that's stupid.
Yeah, exactly. I have
So
never actually spoken to ChatGPT like it's a person. I feel like I should.
I had my wife, I was reading off what I typed to my wife once, and she goes, God, you talk to it like you talk to your employees at work. And I'm like, and I realized that, yeah, I ask it to do things. I don't tell it. I treat it like it's a person. And, because I look at AI like it's a creative partner, not a substitute for my own creativity.
Let's not go patting ourselves on our back so hard we end up breaking our arm over how good of a boss we are.
Well, I have my moments, but I just want to convey to you listeners that AI is not evil. It is not the devil. And as much as I don't want those data centers in my backyard either, I totally agree with that. They need to find a better way to run this shit. I think that it's here and it's a good tool.
Yes, indeed.
So, Mike, tell me how you use AI.
That really depends on the situation. But in fact, while I was at work today, I did a little working on a dungeon coming up in my D&D game.
Nice.
And I have a pretty well fleshed out idea of what I want it to be. However, I asked GPT to refine it a little. Give me some ideas for some hooks or some possible mechanics I might have overlooked, this and that kind of thing. Other than that, if I'm wanting to generate an image or if I'm wanting to create something, let's say how a person looks, if I want to do that to generate an actual AI image, I will go into as much detail as I can and then just let the image generator do its thing.
Yeah. And I would love to support local artists. I really would. But I can't support a local artist to generate 14 different, small scene images, because I like to give my online players and my group pictures to go off of, because
Oh, absolutely.
I feel like theater of the mind is harder to do online, because now you're competing with them playing on their phones, them clicking around on their screens. So I try to build an atmosphere with music, with imagery and all that. So having an image for most of my scenes, or a battle map for anything where you need the tactical movement of a token on a screen. I want that for my players, and
Absolutely. But it
that's
goes to the cinematic storytelling, which is something you're very good at, mind. It just goes to the old adage and the absolute number one rule of cinema: show, don't tell.
I agree.
Yeah.
Show don't tell. So what I'd like to show you listeners is that a lot of this work of populating your world with interesting monsters, interesting people, interesting groups and organizations doesn't have to be hard. And there's one magical word, Mike. And do you know what that word is?
Abracadabra?
Reskinning.
Ooh.
Yes. So if you are unfamiliar with the term, reskinning is taking a made piece of art, a made person, a made personality, a made monster, a made city, and then changing the wrapper around it to look like something else, but maintaining the guts.
Good example. The very first Final Fantasy game. You have your giants, or your gigas, as they're called in that game. Hill giants, fire giants, and ice giants are all the same sprite, but with a different color.
Yeah, that is reskinning in the simplest terms. But
that was probably more a limit of the time than anything else.
oh, for sure. A real world D&D example, though, I was having my players run through a dwarven dam. I think I talked about it last episode a little bit. And I needed them to fight these elemental water snakes that I couldn't find anything online for. Like, I was looking for a particular elemental and I couldn't find it. And God help me, I'm not going to buy every D&D book on D&D Beyond just so I have access to every single stat block. It's stupid. So I went and I found a stat block for something completely different. And I just turned it into a elemental water snake instead of calling it whatever name it was. I mean, it was literally that simple. All the hard work was done for me. I have a well-balanced monster. And all I had to do is be like, okay, well, instead of a fly speed, it has a swim speed. And it can still constrict, it can still do this. Done. Boom. I did the same thing for these little mud dwellers or something. They were these
Murk
weird
dwellers, I believe, or muck dwellers, I think is what you call them.
Yeah.
I don't remember.
They were little scavenger beasts that hung out on a riverbed. They were actually completely reskinned from some kind of underwater creature from one of the weird Mordenkainen's monsters of the multiverse or something like that.
Mhm.
But the stats work perfectly. So you just got to tweak a few things here and there and boom, you've got it. Reskinning can save you so much time. I mean, a dragon cult can become an oil cartel. You know,
Absolutely.
bandits, corporate raiders. I mean, you could turn an orc warband into a railroad expansion crew. I mean, a paladin could become a frontier sheriff. It is super freaking cool what you can do with reskinning. And those options were not picked randomly, mind you. Our guest, who is going to be coming on the show here momentarily, that we're going to cut over to his interview, is creating a tabletop game based on the Wild West.
Yes, he is. Just a little something for our more devoted listeners for our Facebook page.
Yep.
While we were talking here, I went ahead and uploaded the stat block that I made for Peter Griffin.
Oh my God.
Peter Griffin, a huge humanoid, human, chaotic, neutral, 19 armor class with natural durability and 270 hit points. You're welcome.
Oh man. The first listener who uses Peter Griffin in their Dungeons and Dragons campaign, please email me, arguingwithdragons@gmail.com.
I will donate $5 of my own money to a charity of your choice, maybe.
I will send a giant chicken to fight you. All right. We're going to cut over to our interview with Cam. We are here with Cameron.
Oh,
So, Cameron, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Hello, my name is Cameron. I live in St. Louis, Missouri. I've been big time D&D guy, played regularly since at least 2007, but I'm a legacy. My dad was a big time D&D nerd, so he made me aware of it first in the mid 90s. But I really started playing a lot in 2007. I met Tyson via Reddit in a game that sadly fell apart. It was a really fun one, but we're playing a group now in Tyson's game, and it's a lot of fun.
Cool. Yeah. Cameron I think we talked about this, Mike, during our first episode. We talked a little bit about Reddit and the looking for group and all that.
yeah.
And when I applied for his D&D group, Cameron was one of the players and somebody else was DMing and he was the one kind of auditing people, I guess. And I was shocked that I found a group full of people that were not furries.
Yeah.
Frankly, on Reddit, considering what it is, it's either going to be incels, furries, groypers, or rapists. So
I'm not sure what the lesser evil is in that sentence, but I'm just glad I didn't find it.
I think furries, but only by a small percentage.
That's fair. That's fair. Okay. So Cameron is working on a really cool project that I've mentioned probably 5 times over the course of our podcast in passing. So twice. So Cameron, tell us a little bit about your project.
All right. So yeah, what I've been working on is, I call it Strange Trails, a story of whiskey and witchcraft. And basically what I'm trying to do is just take 5e mechanics and apply them to a gritty alternate history, late 1800s United States.
Ooh.
So what we're
Whiskey
doing
and
is
witchcraft. That is the best tagline I've ever heard.
Yeah, I'm not
Thank
going to
you.
lie. That does sound pretty awesome.
That
Thank you.
freaking
Frankly,
hits.
whiskey and witchcraft I'm sold already.
No kidding. No kidding. All right.
That's what I just like about it is how it could be as realistic as you want it to be. The way that I think about it is, imagine if magic existed in the world right now. It absolutely did exist. There would be groups of people that didn't believe in it. there would be groups of people that would say, it's AI. That's not a real thing that happened. And that's what I like about it, especially in the late 1800s, is it's news travels slow, communication travels slow. So these things that one community might accept as an absolute reality, 20 miles down the road, another group of people have never heard of it or couldn't imagine it to be a reality.
Feeling there'd be two anti-magickers in the world if magic were a real thing. One of them would be, oh, it's not about Jesus, so I don't want anything to do with it. And then the other group would be the people that are like, how can I profit off of this?
Oh, exactly. If magic were real, you got to believe that only the rich people would have it.
I mean, it's kind of The Boys, really. It's just capitalism and Christianity.
Oh, what a terrible, terrible mixture. All right. So you based this whole game off of the Dungeons and Dragons 5th ed system, right?
Yes. Yeah. And really the only reason is I know it is really the only reason. I'm sure if I posted this on the internet, like you mentioned Deadlands, I don't know anything about Deadlands, and it might be exactly what I want to recreate, period. But I don't have those rule books available, and I don't really want to learn them. I'd rather just work with what I know.
Yeah, you get to be an aging nerd. Learning a new system is a chore.
It just doesn't interest me.
In my mind, it's just more of a daunting task than it is I don't want to take the time to do it. It's just, you got to sit down and become accustomed to new stuff constantly. And then you got to be able to apply it and be like, wait, did I do that right?
Oh, okay. So I had to sit down and teach an entire table for the Star Wars Saga edition. And these were mostly people who had never even played D&D, but for like maybe 5 sessions. So I actually made a beginner's player guide. So I took the rules and I dumbed it down into the paragraphs for these newbies and I gave them a packet each, went to Walmart, bought a cheap, like make your own binder thing, printed them all out and handed them out with a set of dice. And was like, here you go, read this. And then we'll start playing.
That would be handy, dude. After you mentioned that system, I've looked into it as well. And it's the same thing. It's like, I'm sure I could. But
it is crunchy as fuck.
It's crunchy, dude. There's a lot.
I'm going to be honest. I mean, I've played Star Wars a little bit with you, Tyson, in the past. And honestly, it's not so different from D&D.
No, it's actually fully based on the 4th edition D&D system.
Oh, okay.
With like
no wonder I don't like it.
It's very combat emphasis. Like you get a rule book full of 300 pages and 286 of them are about combat and the other 15 are about role playing. Typical, but
So it's like read for 4 hours about how combat works. And then on the last page, it says, oh yeah, also you can do this.
So what in the Wild West setting, like what is that break in 5th edition? Like what would people not realize that the Wild West would just destroy the rules?
Well, as far as mechanics, I think that the biggest thing is going to be guns. Guns are going to kind of level the playing field between, martial characters and casters. And I need to sit down and actually play it before I understand, because when I started doing it, I realized that the role of like a gunslinger is kind of boring. And there's not much variation if you just do it based off like your Clint Eastwood in The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. Just one guy with one revolver. So what I want to do is open it up and have like a shotgun guy. You know what I mean? His attacks are based on strength instead of dexterity. Have a sniper guy who can shoot from really far out for the power gamer that just wants to, one-shot somebody.
A lot of critical role rules have probably opened up the window into 5th ed for gunslinging and all that.
Exactly that too. When I looked into that, and I don't see any reason to not just straight steal those mechanics.
Lie, cheat, steal. Every good role player knows that.
Exactly. Yeah.
So a good storyteller borrows, a great storyteller steals.
There you go.
That's true. So if you actually go into D&D Beyond and you look up the weapon masteries on a fighter, because I was just looking over my character Rax the other day and looking at his thing. Antimatter rifle is one of the weapons that you can use. And I'm like, antimatter rifle, what? And if you just keep scrolling that list, there's every gun that you could imagine in there now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there's rules, man. There's good rules for those guns. So you got it.
Exactly.
you go through the item listing in a D&D book and you see, a sword, a shield, a dagger, gun, magic stick.
So your game is going to be based on dramatized actual history taking place in the real world. So tell us what parts of history that you want to focus on versus what you're going to leave out to make this work for the table.
So I'll start with what I want to leave out. What I'm going to just completely ignore is racism and genocide, because
Makes
Two
utter
hallmarks
sense
of
that you
American
would.
history.
So far we're doing great. You know what I mean? And I didn't realize until I started making this and I got to, instead of races, I wanted to flavor races as nationalities, right? And so we're not talking about how elves feel about dwarves. We're talking about how white people feel about black people. And I don't want to deal with that. You know what I mean?
Gets dicey, yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, dicey D&D.
And so,
Yeah, still, it's a little bit of a touchy subject.
I just want
No, I get that. And, you're also dealing with Native Americans in there too. And,
Exactly.
they definitely feel a certain way about the way they were treated. So
I would certainly cast a side eye at somebody that wanted to play a Native American barbarian.
I mean,
wow.
You can, dude, if you so choose, Yeah. But like it doesn't interest me to play a character like the way they treat the Kryn in the Critical Role universe. It doesn't interest me to play a character like that. And it also doesn't really interest me as a DM to run a game like that. If a player really wanted to, we could discuss it, but that's not really fun for me, personally. And if you want to include it, help yourself, but that's not what this is about.
No, I can completely understand that. That's to me, that makes perfect sense to not want to alienate any part of the player base.
Well, no, but I mean, at the same time, if you do ignore the ugly parts of history, it could be seen as erasure, and that's just as bad.
For sure. And then, but then how do you mechanize it? You know what I'm
gotta
saying?
be tactful.
Yeah.
Like maybe have a. I mean, this is just me spitballing here, not telling you how to write your own thing, but like you could have campaign settings that are predetermined in the book, like a utopia versus a gritty realism versus this versus that, where one of them, slavery was never a thing. One of the other ones, it is rampant and you're trying to stop it, or this and that and all this and all that and all those.
I think you could look, Cam, towards Hollywood for this answer. And you want to run a grittier story, obviously.
Django Unchained.
No, look at Wild West. You've got a semi-fantasy version of the Wild West post-Civil War with giant mechanized creations that would never actually work in real life and technology that borderlines on magic. And yeah, it's a little comical, but they deal with racism in kind of that way also.
Oh, you mean Wild Wild West with Will Smith, and it was just a nonstop chain of one-liners?
That's exactly what I'm referring to. It's silly, and you wouldn't have to run a silly story, but the way they approach racism is that it's there. It's just not the emphasis of the story.
Right.
Slavery existed, but it's just not the emphasis of the story.
I mean, Kenneth Branagh is Professor Love, Loveless. So that was something.
So let's talk about the mechanics of your game. What did you do about magic? Did you tone it down? Did you hide it? Did you embrace it?
So as far as a player is concerned, as far as a class is concerned, I just want to embrace it. I want the, druid to be able to wild shape. Sorcerer just has innate power, so on and so forth. The only thing that I completely reflavored as far as magic is concerned is the wizard. I changed wizard to inventor, and instead of a spell book, he's got a blueprint ledger. And
that's awesome.
Instead of finding, spell scrolls, he's finding blueprints for inventions as he goes. And I really like the idea of role-playing that. You get to be, this little guy, and you pull out this, what's effectively a bazooka out of some silly little bag, and you've casted firebolt or fireball,
Well, that's freaking awesome.
That is pretty awesome. I'm
I'm
not gonna
freaking
lie.
sold.
And thank you. And also the way that I would like magic to work in this is like I was saying before, it's the little pocket communities might completely embrace it. But if you are in a bustling city such as New Orleans at the time, and you just change into a bear in the middle of town, the consequences of that could be wild. I mean, who knows? You get a group of citizens coming with pitchforks to try to take you out.
Oh,
You know what I
yeah.
mean? They
It's
try to
a
burn you with a
witch.
stake. Exactly. Yeah, it's a witch.
Forget pitchforks. If Bonanza's anything to go off of, everybody has a gun.
And that too. I mean, everybody's strapped.
And I would-
everybody's gonna get the time.
You know, if I were you, I'd consider maybe gatekeeping some of the different classes behind the different races of the world. And while they're not races, you know, they're all humans. To me, in my mind, like a Native American would be the most likely candidate to be a druid that could wild shape because, you know, that tracks with mythology. Or, you know, some kind of foreigner maybe from overseas might track better. So like you could theoretically gatekeep some of these to keep your average French Canadian guy running through New Orleans from wild shaping into a whatever. But it just opens up so many possibilities. That's awesome.
French Canadian would be instead of raging, he just goes onto a sugar high from drinking maple syrup, and he has an axe because obviously he's a lumberjack.
Of course. Yeah.
Oh my God. So what mechanical change are you most proud of?
So the one that I like the most is what I had talked about before, that the fighter becomes a gunslinger.
So is there going to be room for melee, like non-ranged fighters in this kind of universe?
I believe there would, and that's I kept monk. I'll find what I call the monk here in 1 second, but like I say, the mechanic was opening up these different types of gunslingers, especially the subclasses. So you become a gunslinger, and then at level 3, you can go a different path, gunfighter path, one of which is twin iron, which is your double revolver guy.
Oh,
And what that would do is a couple things, one of which that I like a lot is at 7th level, you get to do a ricochet trick shot. So when you miss a ranged attack with a revolver, you can choose for the bullet to ricochet and strike true instead. The attack automatically hits. Once you use this feature, you can't use it again until you finish a short or long rest.
oh, that's awesome.
So I thought, and that's
awesome, yeah.
I feel like that's a pretty good level 7 thing. I mean, once, you know, per short rest, you get to hit one attack, definitely. The other
I gotta
big one,
wonder.
yeah, go on.
Well, I didn't mean to cut you off, but I just gotta wonder if there's any kind of historical precedence for that. Like, were there any actual trick shooters in the Old West who could ricochet a bullet with accuracy?
It is interesting to think about. I hadn't really thought about that, truthfully.
Honestly, it's a great mechanic for, I mean, it's still at its heart a fantasy system that you're going to be adopting here. But even then, I mean, that's actually a very inventive, might I add, and very cool mechanic.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, the other one that I liked a lot was another fighter, which became gunslinger subclass called the long shot, which is your sniper. Their big one is at level 7, you get proficiency in stealth if you don't already have it. And when you take the aim action while hidden, making an attack does not automatically reveal your position unless the attack hits. So
That's pretty cool.
It's you know, sneak long shot guy, man.
Smart.
So what makes it feel more like the Wild West beyond just the guns and the silly hats?
So the part that
Emphasis on
interests
silly.
me,
Take note, Texas.
the part that I like the most about this time period is how disconnected everything is and how scrappy everybody still has to be, but right on the cusp of technological advancement, especially with these really small governments. Like, you know, a preacher starts a little church, a town kind of gets built around it. He becomes the mayor. He elects himself the sheriff. He's basically a warlord at that point. You know, he's got this little community of people that he absolutely rules over. And the the arm of the federal government doesn't even know that these places exist. So it's a bunch of tight-knit communities that exist under this larger umbrella that has very little effect on these little communities.
God, I don't think I've ever heard anybody phrase it like that. That's awesome.
So that's what makes it the Wild West. Is it's every place is different because every place has a very insular culture.
Nice.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, even if you are only really accustomed to the Old West through movies and fiction, you can really tell there's a lot of different tones based on where you are. Like New Orleans, as you'd mentioned earlier, versus, say, Carson City, Nevada, versus Podunk, Iowa, or whatever.
Exactly. And it's all
every place is going to have its own kind of environment and biome, you know.
Exactly. That's what I like about it a lot. That's what makes it feel like the Old West, in my opinion, is you can massacre a town, hop a train, and it's like it never happened. You know what I mean? You're gone.
Just
You're
makes me
gone.
think,
Somebody goes in that town, figures it out, and all of a sudden they've got their lifelong mission to figure out who did it and where they're at.
Exactly.
If I were to drop in a party of 5th edition fantasy D&D characters into this world with guns and hats and Native Americans and train robberies, what do you think they would immediately do wrong first?
I think that I want combat to have more consequences, more final consequences. And to me, it makes sense because at this time, like I said, everybody has a gun. And mechanics wise, a first level wizard is not going to really do much more damage than just some person with a gun can do. So
probably not.
Yeah, you could be in a tavern just talking shit. And if somebody challenges you to a duel, you could die immediately. It could be like that, you know? So that's what I think it would be instead of, and this also comes from how I like to play also. I think that you're going to have a much better time and a much longer life with your character if you try to handle things diplomatically instead of just going in guns a-blazing, murder hoboing. You know what I mean? I don't think the murder hobo is going to survive for very long in this setting.
No, not at all. Not at all.
Well, these classic Westerns don't really leave a lot of room for diplomacy. In a lot of cases, it's all about the gunfights at high noon and such.
That is true. Yeah.
You know, I had a really good question to follow this up with, and you just answered it.
Sorry.
Yeah, no, it's okay. My question was going to be that what behaviors do your rules encourage at the table that vanilla 5e doesn't? And, you know, diplomacy and staying alive and being fearful of death is something 5e does not do. You know, your
Not
fantasy
really.
characters really, they don't walk into a situation worrying about death. And to know that one gunshot could kill you when you get in that duel at high noon, I mean, shit.
Yeah. You get into a thing if you do die and you do have a cleric or somebody that can cast healing word. I mean, that has consequences also because it's the townspeople just see a guy die and then some other guy comes and prays and now he's alive again.
Oh God, that cleric's now God.
Yeah. So what? And you can, you know, decide what, I mean, who knows? Maybe he gets labeled then as a heretic or a, you know,
Oh,
a fallen
yeah.
angel or who knows?
I mean, part of the
Yeah.
rules has got to be that you have to keep magic under wraps or else people are going to know what you are.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, or you just, you know, say, oh, I was a field medic in Civil War.
There you go. Diplomacy, dude.
Is there anything about the Wild West that you think people romanticize too much, but you're going to portray differently?
Maybe this is my own perception, but what I think people romanticize is you hear people say, you know, back in the old days, people were so much more polite. You know, people talk differently and men wore hats to dinner and that kind of thing, you know? And I don't think that it was like that. I think people have been largely the same for as long as humans have been alive.
Yeah,
I don't think I'd ever heard that last one.
I don't
before.
definitely ever think they were nicer either. I
Okay.
think people were much, much crueler back then.
Oh,
Maybe that's my own
definitely.
perception. Then I think, then possibly what I think people romanticize is kind of like the lone gunslinger, the dirty Harry who just him against the world that beats everything. I don't want that. I want it to be a group game. I want everybody to do it together.
Yeah, that's true.
Absolutely.
You don't really see a whole lot of high noon duels with 5 people on versus 5 people,
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
So-
and
fun to
one
plug.
trope that I have to kind of quash here, riding off into the sunset. What are you even gonna do? You're riding off into the sunset. It's going to be dark as hell in 20 minutes.
It's finna
Well,
get cold, dude.
I know. And right after you clear that hill is when you put up camp for the night.
Yeah,
Basically.
you're
So you're
500
not
yards
going
away, sir.
far.
Yeah, it's like I could run to you if I wanted. Okay.
Yeah.
So
Oh, one of the Bangley boys is still alive. How did you find me? I've been riding since dusk. Dusk was like half hour ago,
I was
dude.
like, yeah, it's not long ago, pal.
So what's a small world building choice that just massively has affected this game?
A small world building choice was, and I'm going to backtrack a little bit to ignore racism and genocide. I mean, that is a big world building choice, but also,
You're right.
but also, I read this thing on the internet that said it was like if you are somebody who builds like a homebrew world and you come to the conclusion that racism has to exist in that universe in some way, like it absolutely has to exist, then that's saying something about how you see the world, not necessarily how you feel about people, but just how you see the world.
Wherever
And-
you read that, I've read that exact same thing.
Yeah. I'm sure it was on Reddit, some old Tumblr post or some shit. But I was like, you know what? That's true. I mean, this is supposed to be like, yeah, gritty realism is fun, but also this is a fantasy. Wouldn't you want to play in a world that's geared specifically towards what's going to make the game fun?
Yeah.
So why not? But I say backtrack a little bit because you are right. I should pay some homage to it. Or
Oh, you don't have to. You say that, and then it makes me feel like an asshole as I'm looking up at my big world map of Alduin and thinking of all the racist shit that goes on in this world. And I'm like, God dang.
I mean, racism is a part of human nature, as is
For sure.
slavery. But that's not necessarily saying it's intrinsic to certain cultures or anything of that nature.
I think I like to use the things that piss people off as story levers, because I know
sure.
I've got a group of people who are going to get pissed off if they see somebody be racist to somebody.
exactly.
And then that's
definitely.
motivation for a story for me. And maybe that does say something about how I see the world, because I see the world as everybody's stories, whether right or wrong, they're all just a bunch of stories,
Exactly.
Yeah, I mean, if I were to see a Klansman walking down the street, I didn't see anything, officer. He just died.
Yeah.
I know. He walked into the middle of the road in front of my car and then got up and stood behind my car and then got up again and got in front of it again. I don't know what he was doing.
He should have seen my car coming when I floored it.
No kidding.
So for plot points alone, it's a good idea to include it in some way. But also what I realized, if we just completely ignore, racism, genocide, then there's we have Cahokia Mounds here across the river. Have you guys heard of that?
I have.
So
Cahokia nouns?
Cahokia Mounds. Yeah. So it's
okay, yeah. Okay. I thought you said nouns, like a certain way of talking. Like what?
Yeah.
There were
So-
several large Native American cities that existed through Missouri all the way up to Ohio.
Yeah, I know what Cahokia is, but I
So-
just wasn't sure what he was talking about for a second. Then I realized that I'm the idiot.
So imagine if that, I don't know if this is true, right? But imagine if that ceased to be a community because of, genocide or because of the spread of disease or something. But imagine if it didn't and it was a community that got to thrive. So how does that look? Imagine some guys that were just, some South Texas guys, and they're just traveling up the river and come across this city of these Native Americans that have indoor plumbing, and you know what I mean? I mean, that's just a really interesting thing to stumble upon. So you can have little
everybody
communities
else
like that.
wearing leather chaps and stuff, and they have jeans.
Exactly. Yeah. So
Even
just-
something small like that could be pretty big.
Exactly. So that it just
Yeah.
opens it up for these, for these communities to flourish. And if you have immigrants coming to the quote unquote new world, and their main goal is not to assimilate, but their main goal is to just build a community of their own over here. So you have, you know, these little towns full of like Japanese people who have basically created like a little Tokyo in the Pacific Northwest. You know what I mean? Stuff like that is
Oh,
just
that's
really
awesome.
fun to think
Yeah.
about and fun to do.
I love alternate history.
Well, just imagining that clams are a staple of Japanese cuisine would be a little strange.
Yeah.
New England, no, never mind. I'm not going to say what I was going to say.
Yeah, man, that's good.
It would have ended up being a little too, a little too insensitive. Did you take any inspiration from Blood Meridian?
I did. Yes, I
I
absolutely
knew
did.
it. I knew it. One of my favorite books.
Me too. Me too. I absolutely love that book.
Judge
And
Holden is easily one of the most off-putting and creepy characters in literature.
terrifying, absolutely terrifying. And that's 100% something that I thought about,
Yeah.
if we're in this world where, racism exists, but it's not as widespread. And then all of a sudden this group of people come around and their whole deal is just like killing Native Americans. How would our group of adventurers handle that?
Bang, bang, probably.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, I figured just based on the way you're talking about this, it seems like a pretty good piece of inspirational material for you. I figured it was in there.
1,000%. Yeah, I love that book. And that's one of my favorite pieces of Western media for sure.
Oh, for sure. It's an absolute shame and kind of a blessing that it hasn't been adapted.
It would be so hard to do it good. And
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
because it's, oh my gosh, there's that scene where they come across that group of like Native Americans and the guy comes riding up on a horse with a wedding dress on backwards, just tore apart, and they're coming in with
Yeah.
bows and arrows and axes and stuff. Ugh, terrifying.
Yeah.
Well, that sounds gruesome. I had to
It
pick
is
up,
a positively messed up piece of literature,
I'm
but
gonna have
so
to pick
well
up the
written.
audiobook for this one.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Blood
it's-
Meridian by, I can't remember the first name, last name, McCarthy.
Cormac McCarthy.
Cormac McCarthy. That's right. Yeah.
Oh man, anybody with a name like Cormac McCarthy, that they're right.
It sounds like he's actually from the Old West, but no, he wrote the book in like the 70s.
Wow.
No Country for Old Men. You know the movie?
Oh, for sure.
He was the author of that book that movie was based upon.
Yeah.
Oh, I
tidbit
did
for
not
you.
know that.
Yeah. And I mean, Anton Chigurh is a strange and sinister character, but Judge Holden is a league of his own.
Yeah. Oof.
He knows how to write a very convincing and very creepy antagonist.
Oh yeah.
There's no doubt about it.
I'm going to ask basically a this or that question, and you'll throw out your best answer right off the cuff. Okay. So, magic or no magic?
Magic all day. Love
Gritty
magic.
realism or cinematic shootouts?
Rule of cool rules every time, dude. Cinematic shootout.
Oh, awesome. Train robbery or high noon duel?
Train robbery. I love a good heist.
I love
Absolutely.
this system's going to be awesome for heists. I'm telling you.
Dude.
Oh,
party,
for sure.
party infiltration, bank robberies, dude. Train robberies. So fun.
Gold economy or survival economy?
I pondered on that one for a long time, and I think survival economy.
All right.
I say survival economy.
I think that's a good idea.
No.
I've seen how raw they eat their bacon.
I got to wonder. I
I
mean,
saw this Western show once, and this guy cooks bacon. I mean, he literally holds the strip of bacon over the fire for like 2 minutes and eats it when it's still dangling raw. And I'm like, how would you not have worms, sir?
Just breathing on it, basically.
So, what do you think the most overrated cowboy trope is?
The most overrated cowboy trope is exactly what we already said. It's the lone gunman, one guy against the world, who just kills the one guy and rides off into the sunset. And that's the story. That's 1,000% the most overrated trope.
and then you got some girl in a halter top and a hoop skirt saying, "Don't go,"
Exactly.
and waving a handkerchief at him as he rides off.
Yeah.
Oh, no, Cameron, you remember my character Rax, right?
Yeah.
You think I can make him work in this world?
Oh, 1,000%, dude. Right?
Oh, I'm thinking about it. It's so funny.
You would have to lean pretty hard into the Cockney accent because that's all that existed in the Old West was Cockneys, if any movie is to be believed.
That's fair. I need to work on that accent some more. All
I
right.
could help you with that. I can coach you.
Mike, do you have any final thoughts for Cameron on the system?
A couple, actually. One thing that I was kind of wanting to ask, are you wanting to adapt real world geography?
I had thought about that, and I believe so. I believe that makes it a lot easier to build the world, because then you're just taking existing towns and adding your own specific flavor to them. And
For sure. I mean, there's
all
not
of
going
these
to be
maps
Google
exist
Maps,
already.
but
Yeah, it'll be Google Maps, but these maps already exist.
Oh,
So,
yeah. Oh, yeah.
I mean, there
they're
you
all
go. Easy
hand-drawn
peasy.
and whatnot. And I feel like there has got to be some use of AI with real-world maps that could map out entire settlements as they were or as close to as possible as they were in, say, the late 1800s.
That's a good idea, yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't realize how big a deal the setting book was for these game systems, because it was
Oh,
never
yeah.
really important to me whenever I would DM, you know? It was always just like, okay, some people want to play, let's just make up some city in some place and just figure it out as we go. But
Well, yeah, your setting though, I mean, you're right, because that governs how much of the world your players know. How are they going to interact? How are their personalities actually going to, affect other people? Like how are the other people going to react to the characters? If you don't know your setting, then and a lot of that just ends up being just a mess.
Oh, yeah.
And that goes back into our topic. Our episode today is on world building.
yeah,
So, this Cam here has taken a genre and a real world and has blended it with, it sounds like a fantastic way with, high fantasy.
Oh, yeah.
And I am super, super excited to play test this game.
Yeah, please include me in that play testing.
1,000%. Yeah, you guys and Cassandra and Zero and Travis, definitely welcome. And at this point, it's really just data entry.
If you like, I could happily help you design a character sheet.
I will take you up on that, because there are a few skills that I added that I'll need to, it'll be basically a 5e sheet, just a few extra skills that need to be put on there.
Oh, for sure.
Cool. All right. I think we're going to wrap up our interview. Cam, thank you so much for coming on the show. I can't express how nice it is to have people who actually want to sit down and talk to Mike in front of a not really live studio audience, but the whole 3 people that may actually listen to our episode.
Insert laugh track here.
Yeah, right.
No, absolutely. Anytime, man. It was fun. Anytime.
All right. Well, thank you very much.
Yeah, absolutely.
And
Thank you very much, Cam. And I'll see you on Sunday.
I'm stoked, man. I'm ready.
All right, we're back, listeners. That was a great interview. I had so much fun talking to Cam, didn't you?
Yes, I did.
All right, folks. Hey, make sure you tune in here in the next few weeks. We're going to be going live, recording episodes live from the Midwest Game Fest in Independence, Missouri, coming up here on the 24th, 25th, and 26th. So look for those episodes. They're going to be real special. I'm going to put up a big sign in our booth, Mike, that says hot takes needed, and try to get folks to come over here and give us their best hot takes on tabletop role-playing games. So listen in for those folks. I'm super excited for that.
Me too.
All right. My name's Tyson.
And my name's Mike.
We're signing off, folks. Have a great night.
Good night.